Hey there, YouTube. Checking in with a 9-month update on my So You Had a Thalamic Stroke series, which is probably the best and most exciting series in all of YouTube. So I know everyone's chomping at the bit, all 30 people who watched the last video for an update to see what's going on. So my last update I posted, I think was January 20th or the 21st. I just gotten the PFO closure done and was getting discharged from the hospital. So this is just a little bit of an update because it is the 9-month mark from my stroke. Truth be told, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I usually film my updates in the morning, and quite frankly, I just forgot. So it is a pretty big landmark day, but kind of unceremonious as far as like recognizing the event itself. You may notice eyes are a little bit less squinty and blinky. Been spending, I think, most of the energy as far as rehab goes on getting those things taken care of. And I don't know how well it's working, quite honestly. So when I was up in Washington, September, October, I got some sort of like an allergic reaction when I was up there. I think it was from the wildfire smoke, and it just really hasn't gone away. And I'm like almost positive that there's something stuck in my eye, and it's just, the eye trying to move it out or whatever. And I've been to like 10 eye doctor appointments, and they're probably like, yeah, this dude's just crazy. So right now I'm taking steroids for not for these guns. I'm actually taking steroids for my eyes to help kind of flush everything out and like reduce the swelling. So the update, I think 6 or 5 maybe, was kind of nasty. I was just sitting there like this the whole time because my eyes were very irritated, and I think that I'll go throughout most of the day without the problem, and then it all kind of catches up to me at the end. So the other part of it is like any medication that they give me. In fact, I think it's all on the floor because they flipped my center console up. But I have like tons of bottles of eye drops, and pretty much anything that they prescribe me, just it like irritates. It's like putting sand in my eyes. So there's some sort of like cumulative effect where, it's like I put a little bit in the morning, it's like okay, and then it starts irritating. So then I put a little bit more, around lunchtime as I'm prescribed, and then all of a sudden it's like, and I'm having to kind of power through the remainder of my day. And so fortunately, the issue is mainly localized to my left eye, and I just kind of get through it. So a lot of rambling for an update, and I hope that if you're watching this video, you kind of have an idea of what I've been through. But just a quick recap. May 13th, 2020, I had a stroke in my thalamus at the base of my brain, and took me out of the fight. I passed out, came to, had a seizure. I'd crashed my car somewhere in the middle there, ended up getting a life flight from where I live in the Imperial Valley, Southern California, to San Diego, UCSD La Jolla. So the biggest symptoms that were manifested, and you can see this on my first videos, is like my eyes were actually as the stroke happened, paralyzed. So I couldn't move them left, right, up, and down. But that like normal like droopy and the paralysis of one side of your body or whatever didn't happen to me. So it took them a while to kind of figure out what was actually going on with me. Aside from the eye paralysis, they were also pointed in 2 different directions. Like one was straight ahead, and one would be like, looking way out, like into outer space. That took a couple months to kind of fix. Balance was pretty messed up. Just normal strokey stuff, I guess. So implanted a sense of humor, which was great. But the main effects it started to go away very quickly, within just a couple of weeks. And right now, the lasting effects, I think I could probably attribute whatever's going on with my eyes to the stroke. A lot of sensitivity to bright light and just fatigue. So the stroke itself, they had no known cause, and so the doctors surmised that because there was a hole in my heart and in between the chambers of my heart, that's how a blood clot was able to cross over and get into my brain and give me the stroke. So on January 20th, 2021, I went and had that hole closed. So there's a video on that I posted last month, and I won't really hash it out too much, but essentially they just put a catheter in through your groin, through the vein, and put a device in your heart that kind of like rivets it shut. When I had that done, I posted the video, and I didn't really have a full grasp of what the effects were, as far as like the surgery, bruising and recovery and things like that. So here I am coming up on 3 weeks later, and I can tell you, it kind of sucked. So without getting too in detail, talking about my killing shirt. So the device goes in like basically where your leg and your torso meet. There's just right there. And so this bruising, or this device, ended up creating a bruise about 10 inches long and about 5 or 6 inches wide, and was incredibly sore. So for the first week and a half, I had to walk with a stiff leg, and like climbing stairs, I'd have to kind of like ratchet myself up with the leg, my left leg, and pull myself up and step on the landing, and then pull myself up on the left leg, and so on and so forth. Or going downstairs was a bit of a booger. That kind of sucked. And the soreness goes away after a time. However, the vein that they went through, so they didn't go through an artery, they went through a vein. That freaking guy is so sore. Like, it's still sore. And I mean, you got to realize they're putting like this plastic tube up in this thing that's never been touched before. So I imagine the irritation was pretty substantial. And like right here on my belt line, it's actually sore. It's still sore to this day. At work, we get like keys with a key pouch, and I usually like Al Bundy them into my belt line. And I tried that one day, like one time, and it was like, okay, no more. Like, usually my right is my go-to side. And I'm like, okay, from now on, it's popping into my left, because it hurt. And then also last week, I went to the chiropractor, and so this dude goes to adjust me, and one hand on my shoulder, one hand on my hip. And when he starts to press, it was like, dude, no, like pump the brakes, man. We got to stop. So those are just things to think about. But as for the heart itself, so some things I've noticed are irregular heartbeat, or like a pounding. The heart, it's my heart has never known full blood pressure, if that makes sense. So every time it would pump, a substantial amount of the blood would actually eke across onto the other side, and it would be losing that pressure. So my body, I believe, has to just get used to knowing the full pressure of a real heartbeat. My resting heart rate went from 65-ish to 75, and 65 I thought was too high. 75 is definitely too high. And so once I was able to start exercising again and kind of work the muscle a little bit, it's kind of ratcheted down. I think right now I'm at like 68, 69, which again, to me, is still really high. 2019, I had it down to 55. And the factors that contributed to my stroke, as far as the stress, slowly ratcheted that up until I was at, I was in the mid 60s, and then I had my stroke, and then things kind of like leveled off, which is fine. But blood pressure, I think, has pretty much maintained constant my entire adult life. It's right around 120/70. I think, for whatever reason, I'm trying to, just check my stuff. It was like 120 over 60 to 120 over 70. Not a whole lot of change there. And then my O2 sats, which I thought would change, hover around 97 to 98%, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just know that's what it is. Some of the negative effects I've had are like a shortness of breath and like just this overwhelming sense of fatigue. And because I've gone back to work full time, 50 hours a week, there's no middle, right? It's off or on. So my first week back at work, full time, full duty, like no restrictions, very tough on me. Interacting with people and talking to people, very tough on me. And just exercising this little hamster wheel really takes its toll. And I don't know if that's what's causing the fatigue or if there's something else. But the unfortunate thing is there's no letting up. So I can't, like right now I'm going to have a 4-day weekend, so we'll kind of get a good grasp of it. Today's Saturday. And then President's Day is on Monday. So I'm off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, go back to work on Tuesday. So maybe my Monday, if I'm feeling better, then I can say, okay, it's because, this gray matter's not keeping up, which is fine. And I'm hoping that's the case, because if it's something to do with my heart, then we have some trouble, right? So follow-up appointment on the 25th, I think, of February. I have to go get an EKG or I don't even know. So on the 25th, I have to go to a cardiologist appointment. But prior to that, I have to go get like an EKG done. And quite frankly, I don't know how the heck I'm supposed to do that. So UCSD is generally speaking pretty booked. Where I live in the Imperial Valley, the healthcare is not supreme. And then in the midst of the COVID pandemic, or whatever you want to call it, it's just the precautions are off the roof. So what I'm going to have to do is just bring my discharge paperwork into the hospital and be like, hey guys, what can we do here? It's kind of like a leak down test that they want to do. So they get imaging of my heart, and then they put aerated saline in my vein. So, and then they kind of watch it to reach the heart and see what happens, right? So the aerated saline is contrasted against the blood, so they can actually identify when it sucks in, and then when it beats, and then make sure that it isn't squirting across like it was before. Quite frankly, I don't know. I thought that it was like, okay, run faster, jump higher, but it really hasn't been. So maybe it's just happening so slowly that I don't recognize it, but also because I have not been able to run yet, I can't tell. So there's supposed to be a 6 to 8 week time between the surgery and the time that you do like vigorous physical activity. And I'm trying my best to adhere to that. So I've really tried to avoid going anything over 130 beats a minute, which is probably still way too high. But prior to my stroke, my top out was in the like 170s, 180s, which is also just way too high for my age. So I just have to be a little more cognizant of that and a little more careful. And of course, just get to a health level to where it doesn't have to beat that fast to get me to perform the activities I want to perform. So what I'll be looking at doing in the month of March, getting back into running, getting my endurance up. I don't know, maybe an 8-minute mile, which I know is slow, but for my age. And then probably start getting back into like some of the boxing and things like that. 1, 2, 3, 4s, just to get the stamina up again. So we'll see what that brings. But realistically speaking, other than the fatigue and just the slowdown of the thinking, I'm very, very fortunate. Like those two are my main lasting effects of the stroke. And I'm so incredibly fortunate that that's all that there is, that I can't really complain. So it kind of sucks for the kids and the family. Just being a party pooper and hey, we're going to go to the park and dad's going to just sit in the truck while we go out inside and play. It's lame, but I think that just being in position to get out there and do it is it's a good step in the right direction. I'm not just sitting on the couch. I'm not just laying in bed, kind of like I want to be, but it's a little bit tough. So I'll keep an eye on that. And this update is not a whole lot, not very substantive, but there's not a whole lot going on. So if anything changes, I'll post an update. For those of you who are watching who've had this type of stroke, I really hope you get something out of it. And I also hope that if you have any questions, either you or your caretaker can post me a message. And I'm actually thrilled to be able to help out in that respect, because it's just kind of paying it back for all the help that I've got during this time in my life. And I really think that I will achieve normalcy, at a really close to the level that I was before. Obviously I'm not very attractive, definitely not very funny, and I don't have a whole lot going for me other than I used to be pretty dang smart, and this thing worked pretty quick. So if I can at least get some of that back, maybe I'll have something going for me. But we'll kind of see. And fortunately, I'm young enough that the plasticity in my brain is still there, and that I'm able to kind of recover. So there's that. Couple things is probably about 3-4 weeks ago, one of the guys that works for the organization I work for, not too far from here, about 50-60 miles away from here, died at work because of the same thing that was wrong with me. And it just terrifies me to think what he went through, because when he had a hole in his heart just like me, had a blood clot go through just like me, went up to his brain, and he had a stroke. I don't know the actual mechanism of injury, like where the stroke, where the blood clot went to, how the stroke manifested. I don't know any of that stuff. I don't know that we ever will, because he was just found unresponsive, which is an absolute tragedy. And it really brings to mind just how fragile life is, and also how literally this can happen to anybody. So 1/3 of people on this world walking around have a hole in their heart, and for the vast majority, no problem ever. And for some reason, that's a fantastic way to have a stroke. So I don't know what the answer is. Just be careful. My grandma, she lived into her 80s, and she had the exact same thing. And it's not something that's passed down like genetic. It's just something that happens. So you're born, the little dice is rolled. Okay, your heart healed up, you're good to go. You're born, the dice is rolled. Sorry, man, it's not going to happen, and you have a hole in your heart. So I don't even know. I don't even know how you're supposed to know about it. I don't know how you're supposed to prevent anything from happening. But I think just having a stress-free or stress-minimized life is a big part of it. And that's kind of what I'm pursuing, is to just kind of chill out, slow down, reprioritize, and focus on what's important. That is about it. So please feel free to roast me in the comments. I'll try to keep them open this time. Last time I guess I didn't, and they couldn't roast me, so I got some pretty negative feedback. But I do look forward to comments and questions, because that's pretty much why I'm doing this. It's not as self-serving as it seems. I just didn't really see a whole lot on the interwebs about these types of strokes, and so I figured a first-hand account would be beneficial to at least some people. So Thank you very much. And until next time.